Are y'all ready to head off the trails? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a crazy journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. If you guys haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We would love to have you guys. Happy St. Patty's Day, by the way. Shout out to Bumblefoot for that amazing intro music. I always appreciate that. And you guys, please follow us on our social media sites on Twitter and TikTok at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. You guys can follow me at thecryptidhuntress.com. That's my website. You can find all of my shows there. I do have a fantastic YouTube channel. That's The Cryptid Huntress. Please go subscribe if you haven't already. And also you can follow me on all my social media links. It's The Cryptid Huntress, except for on Twitter, aka X. It's Huntress Jessica. Okay, so if you guys would like to support my work, I have a Patreon. It's the Cryptid Huntress over there on Patreon. And I have a shop, War Woman Goods, on Etsy. And I want to thank everybody for all your support. It means the world to me. Also, we have the Space Travelers Club here at Spaced Out Radio on Patreon. Please become a member of that if you'd like to support our channel. All right, y'all. I want to give a huge shout out to all of my folks that I met, everybody that came to see me at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference this weekend. Man, I'm almost tired today. I had such a wonderful time. I got to meet the most amazing people. I had friends that traveled for many hours to come see me and meet me and hang out over the weekend, and it was very humbling and amazing. I also got to hang out with some friends to our show here at Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to pull up some pictures because I was hanging out with Ron Moorhead, y'all, a good friend to Spaced Out Radio. Also, we had Daryl Denton, who was on After Hours with Rob last weekend. Daryl was there. So we had Daryl, Ron Moorhead, we had Robbie Rains from DA Ex Machina podcast, and you guys will remember my friend Bryce from Esoteric Atlanta. She showed up at the conference and we went Bigfooting on Sunday. Actually, it was Saturday, right before the sun went down. We had such a great time. Man, if you guys are ever able to get out and do conferences and meet people face to face, please do that. It is so amazing. And I do have another conference coming up, but that's not till July, and then I've got some squatch outs going on. I got all sorts of stuff. It'll be on my website, so y'all go check that out. Okay, don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has another fantastic show for us, so y'all go there right after we're done. Okay, but I have a really awesome guest tonight. I have Kenneth Thibodeau, aka Starfox, here in the studio tonight. He's with the North American Dogman Project. We're going to be talking about werewolves during the war times, particularly World War II, Vietnam, and some other stuff. And also, we're going to be talking about Dogman, of course, tonight. Let me give him a formal introduction here at Spaced Out Radio. Kenny Thibodeau is a field investigator and representative of the Maine chapter of the North American Dogman Project. He's an actor, journalist, designer, videographer, Dogman historian, and author. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel, that's Starfox Media, on YouTube, where he has a plethora of Dogman related videos, werewolf videos, and actually I'm gonna bring up the Werewolf of Georgia tonight with him because I presented some information on her yesterday, and then I watched his channel. We got some of the same interests. Please help me welcome to the show, Starfox. What's up, Kenny?
What's up, Jessica? Hello, friend.
Hey, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio.
Of course, of course. Thank you for having me aboard.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for being here. Okay, so first of all, I want to know how you got into the Dogman phenomenon, and I want to talk to you about some of these werewolf stories that I've seen you cover on your channel. I just yesterday reported on, or I gave a presentation on the Georgia Bigfoot. And I included at the very end of that a story of Emily Isabella Burt out of Georgia.
Georgia werewolf girl, yes.
Known as the Georgia Werewolf. And this was back in the 1800s. Okay, it was a long time ago.
Old school.
And I actually saw that you had mentioned her on a show not too long ago on your channel. And I got to tell you, the way that the audience was there for Bigfoot, right? Well, when I started bringing up werewolves, they got it, right? They dug it. But then when I got on the Dogman topic, there were people in there that were completely confused. They had never heard of Dogman before. Can you believe that?
I've actually run into that quite a bit. It's a misconception. I have a theory with your skinwalkers and people that practice more of the dark arts. Those are more of your traditional werewolves throughout history that you would potentially see wearing the ointments and the skins of the animals. Dogmen, the cynocephali, these are actual creatures that are portrayed as flesh and blood. I mean, we're talking about 290 BC with Alexander the Great and Herodotus in Greece speaking about them. Alexander the Great said they are ferocious warriors with and against them.
Yeah, the cynocephali, the dog-headed men. When you look at maps of the old world, there are regions around the world where they had villages, communities, towns, civilizations of dog-headed men.
Yes.
And I'm assuming women too, right?
100% women. I've covered, when it comes to dog women, I would say maybe 5 to 7 cases I have. I'll give you an example though. So I have a pet squirrel. She's a female, but I saved her. So she's very, very in love with me. But some of the other squirrels that see that she goes outside and hang out, come around, males and females, and they've all become friendly. Yet the females at first are very skittish in comparison to the males. It's just by nature, females are usually the ones that have to bring up the little ones. So if they're in danger, they need to protect themselves. So when it comes to dog women and dog men, same thing. Most likely if a dog woman has pups, she's not going to go out of her way to put herself into harm. And also if you look at some of the Latin American lores, when they speak about the white dog woman with the blue eyes and then the black, jet black with a red eye, male dog men, they go head to head. The male dogmen are the ones that are taking the people in their lore, yet the female comes and, if you're lucky, interjects and allows you to escape.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Somebody just told me a story. Actually, I was talking with Ron Moorhead, of all people, yesterday. Love Ron. He's like the godfather of Bigfooting, in my opinion. And he was here with us yesterday.
Yeah,
He's responsible.
I speak to Daryl pretty much a couple times.
Oh, and Daryl.
Yeah, he
Daryl
actually
was there
in his Bigfoot group as a dogman, which is pretty cool. So he had mentioned he was with Ron. I'm actually supposed to be working on a logo for Daryl that I have semi done. Yet as I was speaking to you, the problem is there's always stuff for me to do. And as I'm revamping my channel, which to anyone that stops by, please cut me a tad bit of slack. I understand that some of my playlists, don't worry about that stuff. Within the next week or so, it's going to be platform in the way I want. It's just kind of being updated, and I'm covering new content sent to me by eyewitnesses. And like I said, I'm trying to do something for Daryl. So I'm stacked, but I have plenty of time to do it and I'll get through it. It's just, yeah, it's not presented in the way I would 1000% enjoy at the moment.
It's quality control, and you are an artist. So you know what you like and what you want, and you want it to be good. Okay, I understand that. Yeah.
You're creative too. At the end of the day, I love being creative. Yet when I'm working on something for 8, 9, 10 hours sometimes, which you get your half-hour video out of it and it's beautiful, at the end of it, I plop myself down into my bed or my coffin, as I say on my show, and yoink, I'm out. Like, because it drains you. Yet I love being creative, but people don't understand what it takes to see. Hey, Ryan's the man. I literally just saw that.
Yeah, well, actually, Ryan presented at the Georgia Bigfoot conference yesterday. Amazing.
Yeah,
hey, Ryan Tremblay.
Yeah, he had actually said about that. That's good stuff.
Yeah, so we were both presenting at the Georgia Bigfoot conference yesterday. So what's up, Ryan? Speaking of creatives, he is as well. So, yeah, and a great researcher.
Yes, he's probably one of my top 3 cryptozoologists for sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Hopefully I'm going to be having him on the show very soon. Okay, so.
Yes, dog women do exist. As I said, I don't have as many encounters as I would prefer, but I do, if I sit down in front of my book, it's at least 5 to 7, maybe 8 range, give or take.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you always got to clump in the dog women as well. And I know people personally who claim to have seen dog women, and they did have Okay, so here's the age-old question. What kind of mammary glands do they have? I guess we could say, right? And
It's
is
going to
it
be
like
they're going
two?
to have, I've heard a couple different ones. I've heard that they had a couple different ones, like as if a dog would, but they were formed a little bit more, for example, with the chest and breastbone. And I've also just recently spoke to a girl down in Tennessee, Sonia, that spoke about how she blatantly saw it was a male as it crossed the road. So
Oh,
you can
wow.
definitely differentiate what's occurring for sure.
Oh, yeah. So my friend who's actually seen one said they had two breasts like a female woman, like a human. Okay. And John Fortman. Oh my gosh. I had the Fortmans at the conference yesterday and on Friday. Thank you for being here tonight. You guys are awesome. I hope you made it home safe. Thank you so much. But yeah, if there's going to be dogmen, there's also dog women. And now when I brought up the dogman topic at the Georgia Bigfoot conference yesterday, I had a gentleman in the front row who raised his hand and said, "What is a dog man?" He actually looked back at the audience and was like, "Have y'all heard of a dog man too? What is this?" And I actually referred him to the North American Dogman Project website.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
We're out actually updating that as well. I'm doing that for Jody too. Hopefully within the next few weeks, we have a ton of new images we want to get up there. But yeah, we're trying to put together the skeleton aspects of the Germantown documentary that he wants to drop in February. But we're going to get that all vamped out too. So that's going to look really nice as well. But no, thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, of course, you guys have a fantastic website. You can look up reports from all over the country there. You can just put your cursor over a state and you can click on it and everything
Maps,
pops
yeah.
up. It's really fantastic. And, in my field, I come from a Bigfoot field researcher's background. And so yesterday I was actually talking about the Georgia Bigfoot to the crowd. And I showed a picture of the different types of Bigfoots. And I think that was mind blowing to some of the people that were there. You and I probably take this for granted because we talk about dogmen all the time. We talk about Bigfoot. I talk about Bigfoot all the time. And so we know the different categories. But to the normal everyday person, they don't understand that there are more than just like that one Van Helsing looking werewolf dog man out there,
It's
right?
super funny you said that. So when people start telling me their encounters, they'll use the term werewolf, but I understand in my mind it's because they're not necessarily familiarized. And I'm not going to interject anything until after they're done speaking, and then they can ask questions after, and then I'll answer, because if I'm interjecting something, it could also influence their next statement. So if someone is, hey, I saw a werewolf, it doesn't necessarily mean that they saw it change in front of them unless they describe that to you. They 90% of the time are going to be describing dogman. So when I'm doing my research of the dogman, it comes into a triangle. I'm not just looking and documenting the dogman, meaning people have seen, I have reports that said it looks more like a coyote man. I have reports of a family that they said a fox looks like a fox man. You got Bear Ziller down in Kentucky. You have some of your more traditional looking ones like your Van Helsing, as well as the howling looking werewolves, or sorry, I should say dogmen. And then you have your baboon ones. You have the Klickitat ape cat out in California that looks more sleekish and has the skin variants. So yeah, and that's what I try. And then you have your hyena one, the German shepherds, but the traditional aspect of their frames are still upright bipedal. Some are more lanky, some are more muscular. Yet, if you look at humans, same thing. Or if you look at animals in general, we could all go out and purchase a German Shepherd, but they're not all going to grow necessarily. They'll be around the same weight, but someone, for example, Ryan, his could get massive. It's just the way animals are. Every animal potentially is going to have a different frame to it. I mean, look at grizzly bears. You see one come into the area, you're like, wow, that's a pretty gargantuous bear. And then all of a sudden the next one comes in and you're like, wow, that's even more enormous than that other bear. And then the third one comes in and they all run off and you're like, okay. So moral of the story is there's always something bigger out there. So if you and I know of something, whether it's a great white shark, deep blue, it doesn't matter. There's something bigger out there. Something that's bigger is smarter because it stayed away from humankind.
Yeah. Which is pretty scary. That's funny that you brought up the Bearzilla out of Kentucky.
It's the same difference, yes.
Yeah, same thing. But Ryan and I were actually kind of messaging back and forth about that the other day because he had mentioned something. I guess I was talking about a zombie bear or something, and so we got on that topic of Bearilla and zombie bears and secret super soldier programs that our government may or may not be doing. Now, getting to that topic, okay, secret programs. Do you believe that our government potentially, or maybe not even government, maybe like secret agencies of some sort, black projects, black programs, are they utilizing Dogman, do you think?
Well, look at it like this. As I previously mentioned with the Klickitat ape cat, we're talking about the Manhattan Project with Lauren Donaldson and Dr. Bear. They were brought in because they specialized in animal practices. For example, Lauren Donaldson created, I mean, you can kill it, but the Donaldson trout can live in fresh water, salt water, cold water, warm water. It's a really durable fish. They brought them in because we were worried about Russia coming in and potentially stealing nuclear technology from us. So we were also training dolphins at this point in time to come up with little projections where they would hit you in a non-lethal spot. The balloon would blow up, pulls you to the surface with a beacon, and the government's waiting for you. So at this point in time, we're talking about the Manhattan Project. Now let's rewind a little bit more, and then you have the Celi Nexus Rathis case in the Nazi village during World War II, where the United States infantry unit found the Nazi town hall completely flooded on the lower levels. They called in 3 divers. 2 never came back. The 3rd diver freaked out, said he saw all these satanic type symbols on the wall, which Heinrich Himmler was into the occult. Other rooms, he said people were chained in chairs with organs and body parts thrown everywhere. And then he said in another room, you saw people that had dog heads, wolf's heads, and even a goat's head. And he swore it looked like they were trying to get out of their restraints. Could have been the current from the flooded water. So you're looking back at these point in times, and then you have Stalin that was trying to make the Super 8 army. So this is what, 80, 90, this is a little while ago. So of course now the government is going to be able to interject and experiment on these things, which could also explain why you have different variants as to what people are seeing. Like the Klickitat ape cat, exactly like that. They say sleek skin and fur, such as a cat, moves kind of like a cat, yet it looks apish and also canine-ish at the same point in time. And Lauren Donaldson admitted 3 separate times that apex predators they were experimenting on escaped. They didn't specify, and they said they got the majority of them back, yet not all of them. And now if you look at Plum Island, that was one of the head Nazi people that learned how to interject diseases into ticks and such. And he came over and was experimenting on Plum Island. So yeah, now at this point in time, more than likely they've gotten their hands on the Dogman. The reason I say that is Dogmen are smart, yet in the cases I cover, they still have a very tendency to, I wouldn't say mess up, but just all of a sudden get that animal instinct of knowing, hey, I'm hungry and I'm going to eat. And I'll give you an example. Raccoons, super smart, but I had a friend that needed to relocate some of them. Okay, so he put out some cat food and marshmallows. He'd catch one of them. The other one's watching his buddy and literally goes in and does the same darn thing. But then there's been other times where they try to help each other out. And raccoons can remember things for a couple months before their minds reset. So what I'm trying to get at is it would be easier to catch a Dogman than a Bigfoot because it's still got that, hey, I need to eat and I'm going to eat. So if you're hanging blood and meat and everywhere, those senses of that apex predator are still going to overtake to an extent. It's they know they're walking into a trap, but hey, I don't care. I'm hungry.
Oh, okay. I just connected some dots while you were talking. Okay, so this is how we're going to figure out all the mysteries of the world. Okay, not all of them, but maybe this one. Okay, so you mentioned the Manhattan Project.
Yes.
Okay, and Ryan's in the chat, Ryan Tremblay, and we were talking about a zombie bear case. And I say zombie bear because I was embarrassed to say this on air, but I do something that is also connected to the Cold War and when the Americans were really worried about the Russians. They started using psychic spies.
Yeah.
Doing remote viewing. And I am trained in the military style of remote viewing that stems back from the 1960s, back during the Cold War. Okay, so I'm remote viewing. This is all connected. Okay, so I'm doing remote viewing. I was given a blind coordinate target of the attacks, the unspecified animal attacks, which we were told they were packs of wild dogs in East Tennessee with 2 victims who died. One of them had lost like 40 to 50 or more % of her flesh.
Are you talking about the teacher?
Amber Miller and Tony Ahrens, those 2. On the same road within 2 months of each other. Those were 2 targets for remote viewing coordinates that I had. And in my data for both of them, my data suggested for both of them, they were actually zombie bears that was doing whatever happened to them. And so Ryan had hit me up about the zombie bears, and we were talking about the gorilla. Well, in that same area is Oak Ridge Labs. Okay, Oak Ridge Labs. That is where they worked on the Manhattan Project. Okay, so I just made that's a connection right there, because you're talking about the Manhattan Project with the animal experiments and stuff. So they were doing human-animal hybrid reports and things like that, or projects.
Yes.
There's probably a connection with all this.
No, someone like Ryan and yourself would be much better outside. I literally just 100% dump, all my time and effort into the Dogman. And the reason I do that is, as a good researcher and what I'm trying to bring to the audience and the merit, I feel like I can't stop until I get someone, for example, like a Jeff Meldrum or a late John Bindernagel, people like that, to actually sit down with me for a second and look through all the tracks that we can't verify and be like, well, when they ask you that, hey, Nuxium, come here. Okay, now you have the master tracker speaking to him, and you don't need to speak to me. I'm just the historian. That's okay. No disrespect. I understand that. Talk to my tracker and just be able to, okay, we can't figure this out. Now, images, we all see the blur swatches. Some people say, that's okay, let's pass on those. Well, what about these footprint images we have that then we have the castings and then we have handprints on the windows? Let's sit down and look at some of this stuff now. And I want to be able to do that. And until I'm able to properly do that, I'm not doing my research properly if I'm venturing out in my eyes, because there's so much that I need to do. Every time I move dirt down the rabbit hole, it's good information that I'm finding. I'm meeting new people that want to speak to me, new information that I'm gaining, and it needs to be brought to the scientific field, because no disrespect to myself or anybody else, I'm a backyard researcher. I'm not a biologist. I have no experience in the scientific field whatsoever. No one in that field cares what I have to say, which is okay. And I understand that, which is why I've gathered people around me that have a better chance of having them speak to them. You can't really move us out of tracker. Tracking is science. When you have the person speaking about how to cast and how they're differentiating when the animal's stepping down, gripping the soil. Like I said, that's okay. You don't have to speak to me, but I want those people around me that are now going to be able to speak, so then we can present all that research. And if something happens to me, then that research is still there that we can build off of. Like Linda Godfrey, unfortunately, is no longer with us. Well, her and Jody are like the goats with this stuff. So I take that, and I was able to build my research off of their research. And that's the whole point, is to create that holy grail of Dogman, werewolf, cynocephaly, and be able to sit down with somebody and be like, okay, you want to figure this out? This is what we think. What do you think? And be able to come to a common agreement without having egos and narcissistic tendencies. That's not my swag. If you think something is more paranormal based, etc., and I think something is more living, this is good. Let's figure this out. Let's talk cordially. Let's respect each other. Let's understand why these things are occurring, and let's put out facts, not fiction,
Oh my God. I like you, man. I like you, Kenny. Okay. Because I think that is perfect, because there is a whole lot of ego in some of the cryptid communities and stuff. I've experienced it myself. I know.
It's just,
okay. But
Yeah.
but here's the thing. It's like balancing out the experiences that people have, what they're seeing with the science behind it. And
Yeah.
so that's something that we're working on. We work on in the Bigfoot community. And we do have people like Melba Ketchum and Dr. Meldrum and people like that. We have people on my team that we have wildlife biologists, nuclear physicists. We have all
It's
sorts of
huge. Yeah,
interesting people on our teams. And so it makes a difference. Do you know what I mean? It makes a big difference because let's say, for example, those people at the Georgia Bigfoot conference, the gentleman in the front row that had never heard of a dogman, I think he thought I was crazy for a half second there. But then I was like, but why would he think I'm crazy talking about dogman if we're all here talking about a Bigfoot? You know what I mean? Like, if a Bigfoot is real, why would a dogman not be real too? You know, but that's just the way I see it.
well,
And that's the way I've always seen it.
No, that's excellent. And the big problem is, for some reason, the history cracks of time has just forgotten the dogman. Yet, in actuality, no exaggeration, whether it's UFOs or Sasquatch, which would probably be the top ones, I can go toe to toe and almost never, no guarantees in life, but almost guarantee I can present just as much evidence to support Dogman, if not more. I can definitely supply more evidence for Dogman than Loch Ness Monster, than Chupacabra, than Mothman, etc. Yet, as you said, for some reason, it's fallen through the hands of time. But now that we have the proper information, this is good. Yet, as Ryan and I were speaking about, we've run into a problem now where it's almost becoming a creepypasta, meaning people are just reading narrations and not putting actual science to what's occurring. And they're turning the Dogman into Slenderman when there is science behind it. We have footprints. We have the cynocephaly. It's not a Slenderman. It's not a creepypasta. People should, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. But yet you shouldn't project that as you are telling facts. If you want to tell creepypastas, just put it in the title, put it out there that you're telling creepypastas, so people don't sit down and be like, wow, this person just had a real Dogman encounter in the Ozarks. Yet it's not. It's just either made up or someone's just opening an email. I'm not about that stuff. I'm not just going to open an email and just sit here and all of a sudden take that as credible. I got to do my research. I got to bounce that out to Shane. I got to talk to Ryan. I got to talk to Jody. I got to get their opinions on things before I sit down. And then I need to speak to the witness myself and make sure, if I'm going to give them a platform and document this, that they're as credible as possible. Yet I'm also super pro debunking. On my Facebook group, I advise everyone, as long as people are respectful, come and debunk things. This is what I'm here for. Just because something is in the photo album of potential evidence doesn't mean it has to stay there. If you can bring credence to the topic as why that's a fake, this is great, because now we can just move on to something else. There's too many people still talking about the Gable film and how he was forced to say it was a setup, and no, he made a fake film. It's been verified. It's done. Like, yet why are we still showing these things? Why are we showing AI images saying this is a juvenile Dogman out back? Why are we going to TikTok and taking people's word as this is so apparently this is how we're going to get scientific aspects. This is how we're going to get somebody to sit down. We're not just flow on TikTok. Oh, this person on TikTok's my resource. No, that's not good.
I may joke. Okay, I kind of joke about that a lot. Like when I'm doing some of my shows with my friend, especially my friend Barry Littleton. He's like, well, where did you get that information? And I'm like, well, of course it was TikTok,
Yes, exactly.
Because there's a lot of really interesting videos on TikTok, but yeah, it's becoming a source of information for a lot of people, which is great, but it's also kind of like it makes it kind of a gray area. You know what I mean? Okay, so let me put this out there. Okay, so I do the field research, and I consider myself to be like an all-around cryptid field researcher. Mm-hmm. Started off as a Bigfoot field researcher, but there's so much more going on out there. We have Dogman reports in a lot of the areas that we research. And so we have to prepare for that. I went to an investigation last year of a place that had reported skinwalkers in a cave on their property. Okay, so I'm always having to gather information, take precautions, do my research. to get ready for anything, because it's going to be people that are in groups that are out there looking for Bigfoot that are going to probably end up researching Dogman too. I don't know a whole lot of people personally that are solely Dogman field researchers, other than some of the guys from the Dogman. The head of one of my teams.
That's
Yeah,
it.
the head of my team, Bob Grumpy Wilson, he passed away last weekend. He was the head of the North Georgia Cryptid Researchers. He was also the former Region 5 director of the North American Dogman Project for a while.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of that. I noticed that as well too, which is super cool, because if I run into somebody and they start telling me something, I'll tell them right at the beginning, hey, you can tell me your encounter. I'm going to listen to you, but it's going to fall on deaf ears. And what do you mean? I'm not specialized in this topic enough. I haven't invested enough interest or knowledge. I'm going to pass you on to somebody like yourself or Ryan, somebody that can sit down with you and actually help you get the clarification that you need. Just such with Ryan, he sends me Dogman people, and same thing with you. If you can send them that way as well, because that's my point. That's my goal, is to have images and videos, be able to answer as much questions without sitting down. I'm always willing to sit down, yet if I can answer questions without sitting down, then this means I'm accomplishing things.
Yeah, for sure. Does Dogman have big feet? Yes, they have big feet for a dog. Okay, absolutely, Philip. From what I know of it. Okay.
So
thank goodness I have not seen one. But
with the Dogman footprints, a lot of people in the beginning, same thing with myself, I would be duped with wolf prints or Great Danes and things like that. But then Nuxium started explaining to me, hey, that's a Great Dane. Look at it. I'm like, okay. And then he'd be like, this dog, and it's also now standing in sand, snow. So this is going to change a little bit about the size frames of what the footprint. So the Dogman prints that we have now, picture your foot to an extent. It's built like that, yet it's a little bit wider, and it's got the claws, yet as it's stepping down, I would have to say, I wish I could pull it up for you in the Wolfman with Benicio del Toro when he's walking up the stairs, and also in one of the underworlds, I believe it's the big gray one. If you look at the way their feet are, it's literally a great representation as to how it has to step down. Because picture a creature now, even though the Great Dane's footprint, like I was explaining to the woman, yes, that's a large print, yet there's no way that thing can stand up on that type of foot. It's it's just too small. But yet when you look at the tracks that we have that we can't verify, you can see that thing walking bipedally now and gripping the ground. Nuxium, that lives up in the Sierra Nevada, is our tracker. He has from Cascade Lake. This is an old volcanic lake. This means you have to be extremely heavy and girthy to leave any sort of imprint on this type of ground. And he's been able to get tracks from this animal, and we actually believe he is dealing with a skinwalker in regards of, because since he started following it to its cave area, it's come back to his cabin, it's urinated on his car, it's taken it to more of a level of malicious type behavior, which is more of the skinwalker werewolves. Like I was saying, dogmen are smart, but when you bring in the human aspect of the malicious part of it, I do believe a skinwalker in the version of a werewolf would be smarter than just your cynocephaly or your traditional dogman.
Yeah, I think it's a whole different being. Okay, the skinwalker, and I'm no expert on skinwalkers, but I've done my research a little bit. We need to have Ryan Tremblay in here to talk about the skinwalkers. But there is a difference. And I was talking to my friend D.A. Roberts the other day, and he was saying that skinwalkers are more like humans who choose to turn into something
you have to
different.
do something terrible, whether it's kill somebody close to you or, I mean, I've never put research into it, but from what I understand, it's funny you say that, because werewolves and skinwalkers, I don't go out of my way to look for that. But if people are coming to me and then I understand that's what they're dealing with, I'm still documenting it, but I also will send them potentially a little bit in the direction of somebody else that knows more about that, because I am trying to get out the narrative of the differences between werewolf and dogman. A dogman does not need a silver bullet to be killed. They don't transform on full moons. I've had a person tell me as they're in the forest in this four-wheeler, the story from Kingston, New York, the guy blasted the thing with his shotgun right in the chest. It literally ripped off its pec the thing got pissed, coughed up blood, sputtered for a second, jumped over into the trees, was screeching out, pissed off, came back around at them again, is still bleeding, and now more upset that he had just been shot. I have other people that have shot them with lower caliber rifles, and they don't like it. They spin and drop. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about something. Look at it in this aspect. Take a flashlight, right, and shine it in the eyes. Don't do this, but shine it in the eyes of your cat or something. No, it's not going to like that. Okay. Blow a loud air horn by a bear or spray them in the face with bear mace. No, they're not going to like any of that. So keep in mind, now we're talking about an apex predator. So an apex predator's senses are heightened. So same thing. People think light's going to stop the dogman from coming to get you. If it wants you, it's going to get you, but it will help. I mean, if you shine bright lights, you're blaring on your horn, you're screaming. I mean, there was one case of a woman walking out in her neighborhood. She says the dogman tried to reach over and grab her and her dog. She starts screaming. It's a smaller neighborhood. People start turning their light on. Hey, are you okay? You okay? The dogman looks all around and boots off. Not that I still couldn't have taken her, yet you have all these people now screaming. The lights are all turning on. So its senses are kind of like, Look at a lion sometimes when they try to attack zebras. When they're all running, he's like, or she's, who am I going? Yeah, no. And sometimes they just get confused because there's too much going on. It's not that the lion's dumb. It's just you have a bunch of stripes going, and look at a cat in general. They're ready to roll. So yeah.
No, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's a little confusing. I can see it. But dogmen are not really known to hunt in packs and things like that, too. Do you ever get any reports of dogmen in packs, or are they usually lone wolves?
I've had a few of those. You got the Petrogra National Park case with David and Lisa Toletti, where they said they saw at least 4 of them in the rearview mirror chasing their RV. And my theory on that, it kind of falls into the whole missing 411 thing, too. So if you look at the maps where people go missing, you look at the documented North American Dogman Project maps, and then you look at the cave systems that are verified. All these people will go missing in these cave systems. So in these areas, there's also a ton of dogman activity that's going on. Mm-hmm. So these people are being, I'll come out and say, I mean, other people, like Politis does great work, but I don't think he ever directly comes out and says what he believes it is. I believe the majority of it is dogman. And look at it like this. So when you become a lone wolf, right, the majority of the reasons are you're either a dink that no one wants around in the pack, get out of here, or you challenged the male because you were younger and you wanted to be dominant and you lost. So now you're going to start your own pack. So now picture people in life as well. Like-minded people usually tend to surround themselves together, whether it's negative stuff like criminals or super smart people that want to create things in science. So now take these dink wolves that have been kicked out of their groups. What do you think they're probably going to do? Probably going to congregate together. So those 4 wolves that David and Lisa saw, those probably weren't your typical average dogmen that would realize if you take people consistently, well, we're going to come looking for you. These are probably ones that don't care, that are basically been outcasted from their tribes and their groups, and they're going to do what they want, or they might even be younger males that are out trying to prove themselves as well and start their own packs. And I've heard cases of maybe 2, 3 dogmen rolling with packs of wolves. I've heard of maybe 1 dogman rolling in with coyotes. I actually recently just took a case from Shapley, Maine, about a person that believes this coyote was trying to prank him and his dog, that it was up limping, and he turns the light on. He doesn't want to just go outside to help, but he felt bad. And he said all of a sudden the coyote turned his head around, put his leg down, ran off perfectly fine. And there was huge red eyes about 6 to 8 feet off the ground. And he felt that coyote was trying to lure him outside to come out and get ambushed. But then
he's a scout. That's what coyotes do. Yeah. I had one try to lure me out in the pasture one day at our family's farm. And it was actually going after my dogs. I didn't know, it was either me or my dogs. I was probably going to try and get my dogs. But I took it as I took it as a personal threat, man. I was like, okay. So it was pretending like it was limping and it was hurt.
Yes.
So the dogs would go towards it, and there was a group of them hiding in that back pasture. I know there was, but they weren't. I don't think they were standing on hind legs. Hopefully,
no. Well, I mean, if you see, it's super unfortunate, but I've run across it sometimes when I'm working on things and my YouTube's just rolling, and you come across someone that covers, I don't know, just cameras outside of your house. You see things, and people leave their dogs outside in areas off their chain where it's obviously wolf population, coyote population. And yeah, that's what they do. Those coyotes and wolves don't enjoy domesticated dogs. They look at them as weak. You're weak.
Yeah.
And what they do is they come up and they try to play with you. One of them will come up to get your attention. And as unfortunately these owners did with their dog, thing comes out, follows the other one, 5, 6 wolves, boom, 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 pull the other dog off. Then all of a sudden the other dog tries to help, can't help anymore, and just goes back in. It's a tactic.
Yeah.
But yet I've also recently spoke to a person down in Wolf County. I think it was like back in 2019.
Wolf County?
Yeah, Kentucky.
That's ironic.
Yeah. And down there where he said he stepped outside, heard a bunch of coyotes one evening going crazy. And then it sounded like something actually then started destroying them. And as he grabbed his gun and his flashlight to start walking towards the sound, dead quiet, and he swore he saw a bipedal looking black, kind of canine like shadows bolting by him. And he comes to an area, we have the pictures of it. He's a lower techie guy, man. I don't think he could have faked all this. And the reason I say this is we verified this. There was at least a small pack of coyotes destroyed, absolutely destroyed. At first, I thought, okay, did this dude shoot these? And I messaged Jody because, again, you can't give people platforms I'm not trying to give someone a platform if they just smoked a bunch of coyotes. That's not my swag.
Right.
So Jody agrees. So we try to figure out more. And then we send it to Nuxium, who specializes in animal predation. And then one of my buddies, Rick, from the Countercult podcast, actually is really specialized in ammunition and things like that. So I start sending these out to people, Grizzly Chris, law enforcement. I have them look at it, and they come to the conclusion that unless somehow this guy was able to get huge artillery type style ammunition and get point blank on these coyotes, there's no way those type of wounds could have been done. And then Nuxium points out, and if you look at the legs now, there's no fur frayed off, meaning if this guy actually had caught them and left them in a trap to stage all this and shoot them, you would have seen some of the fur coming off on the leg from when they're trying to pull themselves out of the trap. There isn't any of that. So Nuxium, as he's looking at all this, I can actually send you literally the story he tells as to basically the Dogman or Dogman comes in and is like, hey, this is my area. Boom, boom, boom. And he literally just walks through pretty much what happened to each coyote. It's super cool. I mean, not cool that happened, but it's super cool how he can process all that and literally tell you what is occurring.
Wow. Well, wow. Okay. We have taken a pretty deep dive on this Dogman stuff tonight. My gosh.
That's
okay.
what I specialize in.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God. I could talk to you about this all night for sure. But because this is like real life situations, you're talking about real reports from real people in the United States. This is not stories that are made up or found online. This is straight from.
I have cases from BBR investigations with Deborah Lilith Hatswell. She sends me stuff all the time from Scotland, the Canuck Chase. Yeah. I have cases from Uruguay. I probably have cases from if I looked at a globe and looked at every country, I'm sure there's some that I don't, but I'm going to be bold and say 90% of the world, I have cases documented. The majority of my cases are North America and Europe, though, for sure.
Wow. There's a lot of information about coyotes in the chat tonight. Thank you. I want to thank all my chat tonight. You guys are really awesome. Yeah, it says the coyotes. Okay, Philip Blair says coyotes would have to be pretty desperate, maybe even rabid, to try for an adult male human.
I agree with that, and I actually have a couple theories to it. And when you were previously mentioned about the people being killed by wild dogs, correct me if I'm wrong, Corey Godfrey was one of the kids that was killed by wild dogs, and there was also a 77-year-old teacher that went out for a morning run that was ripped to shreds as well. And
that was Brenda Hamilton. I was given that as a blind remote viewing target.
I'm glad you said that because I am super big. When I have things documented in my book, I can't pull it up right now because it's on my computer. I hate I hate it. I hate throwing out dates that I know I have 100% correct in my book because it's just a form of misinformation. So I will state that in the beginning before I say something. I have this documented, but I am not going to throw out an inappropriate date and just mix up that information. But both those cases, they were killed by supposed wild dogs. Yet people in the area had also been reporting seeing larger bipedal strange area type animals. And there was another girl too that stepped outside, and neighbors said 3 large black dogs, I think it was in Tennessee, came out and grabbed her and ended up killing her as well. And then you have the case of the young country singer up in Canada that supposedly was killed by 2 coyotes. But like one of the persons said in the chat, the odds of 2 coyotes that they were just found in the area. So they didn't even have proof that they had killed this girl. They found the girl completely bloody and torn to bits, and they blamed it on the 2 coyotes. Yeah, I've always disagreed with that and believed that potentially that also would have fallen into a Dogman type cover up. Because if you look at the Yukon Territory, Bart Schleisler is one of the best animal experts that, in my opinion, ever lived. This guy was brought in to track grizzly bears and put on collars for them to help Yellowstone out and understanding the behaviors of grizzly bears. He was sent over to Siberia to try to help figure out the tiger population when it was dipping. There's pictures of this man in an actual tiger den holding the cubs while the mother is out. This man specialized in creeping up on apex predators. They didn't creep up on him. This dude creeped up on them. Yet somehow this guy is killed by something up in the Yukon Territory, and his camp had plenty of food, yet no animals went around the camp, and no one ever went into the camp to get his food. They found a couple of his bone fragments on an area where he went down on an inflatable raft, which was only found after his friends went back out to research because the Canadian Royal Mounted Police basically closed the story. And his friends were like, nah, this dude specialized in stuff. There's no way this happened. We're going to go figure this out. So they went back out there and they found basically his backpack where he was sitting down. They found his bow up near a tree, meaning he was literally sitting there watching something. You could see the imprint where he was. No bar. And then a little bit further down, they found his goggles and a piece of clothing shredded with some blood on it. Yes, there's wolves and bears in that area, yet in all their scat, there was no human remains to be found. So what dominant predator was able to sneak up on this guy for real that could get into a cave of Siberian tigers and play with their cubs? Let's be realistic for a second. This dude is probably the best survivalist that we hadn't heard of, because this is a while ago.
Okay, well, for all the stories, okay.
Type in Canadian country singer coyote attack. I don't want to throw out her name if I don't have it correct. Yeah. It's pretty easy to find.
Thank you for that. Yeah, thanks, Philip, for that question. Okay, so coming from a show host point of view and a researcher's point of view, all these things that I've been researching and the shows that I've done, it's like we have to contend with like dogmen out there. There's also the whole aspect of like reptilians as well, coming out of the caves and taking people. There's just a lot of stuff going on. And like what I was saying at the conference yesterday, I was showing the maps of the missing persons clusters from the Missing 411 series by David Paulides, on top of the cave system map, on top of the federal land map, on top of the Bigfoot sighting map. I mean, the Dogman have to be similar, I would assume, with that mapping, the regions of the map with them. I mean, it's just so odd. It just seems like it's all so connected. And also the deep underground military base map as well.
No, okay. It is super interesting. And what's even more interesting is I've had my brain tweaked in a good way recently for the majority of history and oral history that I've heard through some of my indigenous friends and just research that I've been able to read, because a lot of indigenous cultures is oral history. So you have to listen. And also out of respect, I don't necessarily want you to type it down. Meaning when I was working with Nuxium, some of the oral stuff, he had just asked me to rephrase it, meaning it's just a respect thing. But if you look at when they speak about the Dogman and Sasquatch, usually they don't like each other. There's actually an old Chickasaw legend about how they tricked the Bigfoot or Sasquatch into coming in and trying to think that they were going to get food, but they actually had a confrontation with the Dogman because the Chickasaw tribe wanted the Dogman pushed away. And if you look at the majority of the cases, I've had cases, maybe I have 8 or 9 where they're fighting with each other. Yet recently, a couple people actually have brought up potentially, what if Sasquatch are using dogmen, say, as guard dogs, meaning to guard areas kind of as we do, which animals in general will use if they're more intelligent than the other animal, they'll trick them. There are some birds that go in and roll eggs out of your nest and put their own eggs in there and leave, and you raise their kid and you have no idea. So now with the Bigfoot, what if they don't want really people around because we are disrespectful to the earth now, which in Native American lore, animals stopped wanting to talk to us once we became modernized and destructive. So obviously they want nothing really to do with us. So what would be a really good way to keep that away? To obviously have a guard dog. And then when you look at the Martin Crowe's case, as he was leaving, he says he saw some Sasquatch literally right around the Dogman. So now the question is, how do we look at the Sasquatch? Are they nefarious? If you're aware that your pet or your dog is out terrorizing the neighborhood and taking people, you must now be aware that it's going to bring backlash on you. Yet throughout history, no one, you have occasional instances, but for the most part, Sasquatch in Native American lore are just protectors of the forest. You don't really ever hear them talking about good stuff with the Dogmen in that regards. So where do they stand now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I too have heard Martin's story. It's pretty fascinating. And also we have, I've actually had people on the show talking about the Dogman breeding program and the terror at the U.S. southern border and I know we've had a couple of comments in the chat tonight about dogmen being seen, or werewolves, probably dogmen, attacking people who are crossing the border illegally, I guess,
If you look at the Latin American lore, chupacabra is kind of a broad term, almost as to dogman, with a broader term for me, as I said, because I'm still docking something if it looks like a coyote that's still in my dogman book. There are a lot of cases of chupacabras that could fall into line of dogman reports. So that really doesn't surprise me whatsoever. I actually have a video of a bunch of teenagers riding through the mountains up in Mexico, and I can't even describe what the heck this thing is. It runs into the side of their car, runs right off to the side of the road. They thought potentially maybe they hit somebody's dog. It's big, large, black, and shaggy. It's got these weird kind of pointed ears. Could be a llama, could be something else. But then it goes behind this tree, and it starts like shaking the tree kind of. It's pissed off. And they're like no longer really wanting to approach this. Well, yet injured animals probably don't want to be approached, but then it does this weird little crawl off. And I've had numerous reports of how the Dogman does this weird military kind of crawl, or like when my pet squirrel gets down on the ground and she does this. And I think of cloaking as that. Some other people, when they speak the cloaking of like potential predator aspects, I would again defer on that, and I would think that would be more your skinwalker and your werewolf. But when it comes to the Dogman, picture a large cat. How do you think a tiger creeps up onto something? This is a big ass cat. Yet you don't see it. It's all crouched down. So same thing with like a Dogman, or look like a wolf when it gets down. Like, have you seen that video? I believe it was in Michigan where that guy, I don't want to use the term bozo, but yeah, bozo. He lets his dog walk up to this enormous black wolf type animal that's literally laying down, and all you can kind of see is his ears a little bit, and then you're like, holy crap, that thing is enormous.
It's like a horse.
So that's what I mean about the cloaking of that's what I think of Dogman. When someone says cloaking, I think of any predator cloaking itself in the grass or the brush to hide itself or its presence. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I want to talk to you about this so much more. We could go 2 hours tonight, but we have to end the show. This is sad. I don't want to end the show tonight.
Oh, you're good. You're good. It's also, I mean, just because after this show, I mean, you have my messenger. I'm always willing to answer questions and collaborate with you and help you out with Dogman information, etc. So it's not like this is the end of our friendship. So I mean, I'll definitely be able to collaborate with you and put out more stuff. And like I was saying to you too, I actually have my own podcast that I'm rebooting. I have a couple of different hosts because I had an original host that, I don't know, she has some stuff going on, so she kind of stepped down. Yeah, people like the podcast. It's just like a half-hour podcast called Indictment Lycanthropy, where we literally just speak about Dogman stuff. So yeah, I mean, you can always come on and be a host with me on that. I mean, I can always come back onto your show. So yeah, no worries at all, friend.
Well, yeah, you better come back on sometime. This has been amazing. Like, this has been a great conversation. I connected some dots in my head tonight. And I think that a lot of people in the audience did as well tonight. And so, oh my gosh, Kenny, thank you so much for being here. Now, you guys go, please subscribe to Starfox
YouTube
Media.
Real quick. It's it's going to be all lowercase, and it's just an underscore in the middle real quick.
An underscore in the middle, is that Starfox Media? Let me correct that real quick.
Yeah, no, you're good.
So Starfox underscore.
I mean, they would find
media.
me eventually, but there's a cut. Yeah, there's so.
Okay, here, let me show this. Is that right?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Gotcha. Okay, so it's just youtube.com/Starfox_media.
That's too creative, I guess. That's just a way for me to be creative. I don't know. It's like creativity is a gift and a curse. It's sometimes you put too much flavor into what you're creating and you can't really pull it out. And I'm meaning sometimes I'll create images and someone's like, no, it's a little too much flavor, but yeah, no, that's fair.
Oh no, there's never too much flavor. We like it spicy and saucy over here. It's Spaced Out Radio and on the Cryptid Huntress show. Okay, so you can never be too creative or too spicy.
Cool.
Okay.
Excellent.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys please go subscribe to Starfox Media on YouTube.
So
yeah.
Thank you.
This has been awesome. And we still got people like asking questions in the chat and like wanting to know the difference between Dogman.
I have so much stuff. I mean, I got eyewitnesses talking up on there. I have some information breakdowns. Pretty soon I'll be dropping a video talking about the different versions of Dogman. I'll also be dropping a video talking about the cynocephali. I have podcasts up there. There should definitely, for now, for anyone that does go to my page, I've alleged howling on there should be enough content to really grasp your information, and I think I'd be able to consistently put out new content before anyone's even caught up. So
well, awesome. Okay, Kenny, well, please come back and see me soon.
I will.
Have a wonderful night. This has been amazing. I'll be seeing you soon. Okay,
Sounds
let's
good.
keep in touch.
All right, for sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Have a great day. Okay, we'll see you next time. All right, y'all. Whoa. Okay, that's like one of those shows where I'm just like, man, we can just keep going for another hour if we didn't have After Hours coming on right now. So you guys go head over to After Hours with Rob G. And please come see me this week over on my channel, The Cryptid Huntress, on YouTube. I'm going to have a live show Wednesday and also on Thursday. So you guys come see me there. I'll be back next weekend. Also, join the channel on a membership. If you guys want to come over to my channel and join the channel, I have exclusive content over there. I'm going to be posting on there tomorrow. Okay. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much for being here. I love you guys. Please stay safe out there. You know, I could give you a warning, but y'all know what to do. Lock your doors. Keep your head on a swivel. And I'll see y'all next time. Have a good night.